All right, welcome back. This is going to be a fun podcast, and as I've said many times, I've had some amazing guests that are high-achieving people that have a great story to tell, and it's fun to listen and learn the journeys of all of the different folks that I've had on the podcast, and I've had a great time. But today, I'm really excited because I've got two young ladies who have just finished their collegiate athletic career at USC, and they are a four-time, think of that now, four-time freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, four-time national champions in beach volleyball, which is in rare air up there. So we've got Audrey and Nicole Nourse of the USC Trojans, and again, four-time national champs. Does that settle in yet when people start saying that to you guys?
Yeah, it's pretty surreal, honestly. But again, it just, I don't know, it doesn't feel too crazy because it's just the journey. It's like, what's next? That's kind of how we feel now. Like, okay, what are we doing now? How do we keep going and keep growing and keep getting better? That's kind of always just been our mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just the byproduct of who we are as people and who our team was as a team, and our coaching staff. We were all aligned on our standard, our expectations, and really the process-oriented approach to what we do. And you know, the championships are a byproduct of that. We're not defined by our championships, but you know, we're definitely glad we were able to get that done. And it was just a really great ride to be a part of.
So I've got to know your parents, obviously, and they're wonderful, wonderful people. And if we back all the way up, because, you know, with all, especially in athletics, you know, there's a point in time when you kind of start to, you know, when you're younger, maybe you're playing a lot of different sports and you're trying to figure, okay, where can I get good? Which sports might be best for me? But was there a time for you guys that you guys started to say, volleyball is it? You know, that's kind of our sport. You know, maybe basketball or softball or track and field or whatever it might have been. You may have tried those things, but at what point did you start to say, let's zero in here because we got a chance to be really, really good if we just lock in?
Yeah, I think it was our freshman year of high school because at that point, like I was playing varsity soccer, club soccer, indoor club volleyball at school, indoor, and then beach volleyball on top of that. And she was doing all the same, but with basketball. She was on varsity basketball, club indoor volleyball, high school volleyball, and then beach volleyball. And so we had full plates, and that was right when we were starting to get recruited by our top schools that we wanted to go to. And so at that time, and it was hard because, you know, I think we're unique in that in every sport we've had really amazing coaches, and to tell those coaches, like my goalie coach, to tell him that I was done playing soccer was a really hard thing. And I was only 14 at the time. But for me, like he'd been with me since I was 9, and I took it very seriously. And he, of course, you know, knew that we were going to go and play beach volleyball together because we're identical twins. And it was just like, it was this God-given thing that we had to pursue. And so I think we were 15 when we really started to kind of divert from our other sports and just dive right into beach volleyball. Yeah, it's interesting because honestly, if I wasn't a twin, I'd probably be playing basketball in college. That was, you know, basketball played a really big role in my athletic development personally and how I approach sports. It's really interesting. But we're right and left-handed identical twins. We grew up on the beach. It would almost be a disservice to not go for beach volleyball. And once we put everything into that basket, we started training with Holly McPeak, 3-time Olympian. She lives in Manhattan Beach. We would go to high school 25 minutes away, and then we would drive an hour to practice. And we did that 6 days a week. And from there, it just took off.
Was there a time, then once you start zeroing in, all right, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna go beach volleyball, but then was there a time, maybe 9th, 10th, at what point did you guys start to really realize, or did you know it right away that, okay, we're probably good enough to play in college, you know, probably, and but we want to play at the highest level. You know, there's one thing to say, okay, I want to get recruited and go play at a small school. There's another thing when your goals are higher. When do you think that kind of started to settle in?
There was a specific time. It was our summer of our sophomore year in high school. We were 16 years old, going into junior year. Yes, yeah. going into junior year. We were 16. And prior to that, we spent 2 years training with Holly McPeak, someone who we are indebted to. She's one of our biggest mentors. And that summer, we set out to win every major national tournament. We won every single AAU, BVCA, Cal Cup, I think was another one. USA Volleyball, every major tournament on a national scale, we ended up winning. And so I think after that summer, we not only instilled confidence in us, but also I think people started to really know our names.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because when you ask that question, there was never a point in our athletic career since we were 10 picking up a beach volleyball until now that, I guess my point is we've never put a ceiling on ourselves. We always knew that we're winners at heart and we're competitors. Like, we love to compete. We love to compete. And I always say one thing that, we pass on to younger individuals that want to get recruited at a high level is compete. You got to play. That's how you build, it's reps in practice, 10,000 hours. But really it's competing and becoming really competent in competition. And we had that belief in ourselves, but once we were able to really kind of see it come to fruition, it just added that confidence, and then it's a snowball effect, and you're constantly looking at the next, what's the next big thing to tackle.
How do you think that you guys, because everyone's different in this regard, I've always had this conversation, but sometimes things are just innate. We just kind of have them. There's a competitive nature. There's this desire to, reach these amazing heights. But then there's also people along the way, and you've mentioned Holly, but there's also people that are kind of instilling and kind of pushing you into that, where you're not allowed, maybe when you're younger, to take it easier. It's just not, I shouldn't say not allowed. But you're encouraged all the time. So who else, and some of those people that probably helped you along the way, but I think some of it's in here. Some of it's in there.
I think some of it's in here, but you need to be pushed. And that for us, she'll say the same thing. I know she's thinking it right now. It's my mom. And we joke with her. We call her Tiger Mom because, it's kind of how she is. But and I'm a firm believer that you cannot want it more than your kids want it. That's the thing is we want to win. We want to play more than anyone around us, but when you have someone that's pushing you, is going to be there for you, whether you win, whether you lose, is going to drop everything to drive you to every tournament, to put you on every single team, to make you the best that you can be. We would not be sitting where we are today if we didn't have really her, and my dad too. He was very involved as well. But she's at every single tournament. It's the three of us at every tournament. My brother was at, or my dad was at, my brother's golf tournaments, and my mom was with us. So she stands out. And then, at every level, there's people that, that are put into your life that have a really big impact. For us, it's our coaches at USC. Gustavo Hocha he's like a volleyball dad to us. We really love him. Like, we love that man. He's done so much for us. And Coach Dane Blanton, talk about empowering you to want to be the best that you can be.
Every single day.
Every single day. The standard that we set for ourselves, which is a very high standard, he raises it. And, it's a powerful thing when you have people like that are can help you really build that up.
What about him? Because I liked it. That just kind of created a thought in my head. But what about him when you say that he helped you kind of go to another level of, talk about that a little bit, like the things that he did as a coach, because there's so many people, especially with young people, they're trying to coach, and a lot of people are very negative coaches. They're just on you, but then there's other people that just kind of find a way to kind of put wind behind your wings.
Yeah.
Would he be one of those guys?
Yeah, I'd say he definitely is one of those guys. He came to practice every single day with the same energy. Him and Gustavo, both of them together. And I have to talk about them in the same sentence because they each have different skill sets and different strengths. And together it's this beautiful thing. I don't think we would have been able to accomplish what we have without both of them together. Every single day, Dane would bring us together. He'd talk to us as a group. He had this amazing talent of just being able to speak to large groups. He's a broadcaster, so he naturally enunciates. He's very captivating, and I honestly think it's really helped us when we're trying to lead and we're trying to talk to our team and kind of embody that. But every day before practice, we talk about, all right, what do you want to get better at today? What do you want to focus on? Like, we care about doing the little things right, and we don't cut corners. And that's made very clear every single day. And my sister and I mean, we've been like that since we were 14. Like, there were practices with Holly when she had a meeting, 3 p.m., right after practice, she had to go.
With ESPN, I think.
Yeah, and we didn't like the last drill that we did. We didn't like the reps. We thought they were messy, they were bad. We said, please, just one more. Toss one more.
That's our...
wasn't good. And then she's like, and then we're like, please, one more. And it ended up being like 30 more minutes. She's like, you guys, I'm late. I need to go. Yeah. And then we stayed after ourselves and tried to figure it out. But I think just having coaches that helps you channel that and nurture it, and at some points you can be a little bit immature with it, but allow you to kind of mature as you go while still instilling that fire. It's a really cool thing, and that's what we experienced at USC.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing too, because I coached for 33 years, and the players that you felt as a coach where they were already good. It's kind of developing the best of the best. You're already good, but then they're taking that of the best and even taking the best to another level. And then, for me, if I'm sitting in the green room at the NBA draft, with a guy that was a top 100 player and all of a sudden he's a 12th pick in the NBA draft, it's such an amazing feeling as a coach where you feel like you've helped, along the way. But, you still have to, the athlete still has to put in the work. The athlete still has to have that drive. And but it's really amazing for you guys to be able to give those guys credit like that, and your mother as well.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. It's, we kind of, we know our work ethic and we really know our worth, and we're really confident in that, especially with how we play. We're a very confident team, but gosh, we would not be in the position without our coaching staff. Every day they just match it. They just level it up every single day. And it is really, really cool, I think, from a player's perspective, to sit back and think, wow, look at what these guys have done for us. Look at what we've been able to do, because they've kind of given us the wheel to figure it out by ourselves, but they've kind of guided us at the same time, and we're always on the same page with where we need to be, with where we want to get. We never put a ceiling on ourselves. We don't look back. Doesn't matter if you win 0 championships or 4 or 3 or 2. It does not matter. We just want to win. And honestly, there's not many people that want to win more than Audrey and I, but I think we've done our match with Dane Blanton.
Yeah, we have.
That guy wants to win. We're the type of athletes, we hate losing more than we like winning, to be honest. It's like a Kobe mentality. It's obsessive. It's all of those things. And then on top of that, when you're grounded with a really great why, what's your why, what's your team why, there are different levels to it, you're really unstoppable. Explain
a little bit, because I think a lot of people, they understand volleyball, they've watched volleyball. What's interesting too is, like my children grew up in the South, and there was women's volleyball, but not beach. There were no men's volleyball. So like my son, who played football at Stanford, he's 6'5", he actually got excited about beach later in life, and I think he was 24 or 5. He's like, Dad, I think I found my sport. But it wasn't available to them when they were young.
Yeah.
But explain a little bit about beach volleyball, how it works. Obviously, it's 2-on-2, but you then have a team as well. So explain a little bit of that for maybe the person that's not as familiar with beach.
Yeah, so beach volleyball and indoor volleyball, honestly, are 2 completely separate sports. It's volleyball, but in every move that you do, it's taught differently. It's done differently on the beach than it is indoor. And the biggest difference, obviously, is that you have 2 people on the court in beach volleyball, 6 in indoor. And so if you're a beach player, you have to do every single skill. There's no specialty players. Like indoor, you have a libero. You have someone who strictly comes in middle back row. You have your middle, who stays in the middle the whole time, front row. Beach volleyball, you got to do it all. You have to pass, set, hit, block, play defense, be able to serve really well. And so it's a bit more versatile. And the other thing too is college beach volleyball is the one time in the sport where it's truly a team sport. Outside of collegiate beach volleyball, it's kind of like golf in a way. For us it really was, because it was just us 2 against everyone else. However, once you get to college, it's this really cool team-centric thing where you have 5 pairs, 1 through 5, and like our 1's team will play UCLA 1's team. Our 2's team will play their 2's, 3's, and so on. And it's best 3 out of 5. So 3 pairs out of the 5 have to win their matches, and it's a duel. So if 3 pairs win, we've won the duel, or we've lost the duel.
I think what's, or at least what I really appreciate about the game too is, when you think about really playing at the next level and getting to the elite level in your sport, for our sport, it's really of whoever's going to make the less errors and whoever is most consistent and whoever is mentally stable. It's kind of like tennis, because it really is all on you. And we like to call it's a game of side out. So the approach to beach volleyball is if you can side out, meaning when you're in serve receive and the other team is serving at you, if you can get those points, which, other than the serve, the pass is the next thing that you can control. If you can get those points, you only need to get a transition point or a defensive point. Maybe if you're serving and you make a play, you only need to do that twice. So that's what you're playing with. So it's kind of a great sport if you're a perfectionist like we are, because if you perfect all of those little things that you perceive to be controllable and you get really good at it, like you can pass nails and side out really well, you're going to do really well. So we like the challenge of it because it is mentally challenged to be in the hot seat the whole time. You can't pass to someone else. You can't. You're touching a ball every single play. So it's fascinating from that perspective. And when you want to play it at the highest level, it kind of forces you to really build a tough mental mindset if you want to win consistently.
So in beach volleyball, I'm going to make a guess, and I want you guys to respond to this. In every sport you play, your conditioning has to be phenomenal. Like if you want to be a great, and I was involved in basketball, obviously, in basketball, or it doesn't matter what it is. But I'm guessing, because I've just gone out there and hit a ball around in the sand, the conditioning for you two is ridiculously important, obviously, because to play in the sand is it is not easy.
It's not, and we've both experienced firsthand not being in the shape that we should be in. Like there was a time in college, and I think a lot of female athletes go through this, but there was a time where we weren't eating enough and we didn't have enough body fat to support what our bodies were going through, and you could feel it. I felt slow. I've never felt slow in my life. I didn't feel explosive, and so then made a switch, really dove into, I think the first step was feeling empowered by wanting to get stronger, put on more muscle, and really accepting that. And then, put on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle and weight, and like felt so explosive. And you have to be in that peak shape to execute
all the time.
You have to. If you're if I try to go play now, and I've taken off a couple months, I've had some like injuries from season I'm dealing with, so I haven't been able to work out in the last month, and I think I've lost a good amount of muscle from when I was in season. But if I tried to play now, I would be so out of shape, and I've been playing for the last 12 years. It's like swimming. If you take off 2 days, it feels like you've taken off 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Who would be some people when you were younger? We all have them. And were you in any sport where you kind of looked to another athlete and said, that person, male or female, but that person, even when we were younger, that person inspired me?
Oh, hands down, Kobe Bryant.
Kobe.
I mean, we'll say we have the same response, and it's funny. We have 8 and 2-4 stitched into our hats, and we did that end of January in 2020. And it's interesting. We're from Newport. Kobe lived in Newport. Our kids, or his kids, and we went to the same middle school. So we've seen him around. When he tore his Achilles, he was at our lunch line saying hi to the kids, in his scooter. And he remembered who we were. When we would see him, we would say, how's that jump shot? He knew that we liked to play basketball and that we were sporty, and probably didn't know too much about who we were, but that's special when you have 5-time NBA champion, just the peak of what an athlete should be and represent and how they carry themselves and how they want to give back to the world. That was Kobe. And to see that at a young age, he is 110% our inspiration for sport and life. I mean, the Mamba mentality is something that we actively try to live out every day. And it transcends sport. It really does. Yep. I mean, it's this relentless pursuit to be the best version of yourself. And you view what you do as a craft. It's art. It's beautiful. And it needs to be done the right way. And I think that's how he lived his life. And for years, we saw that and we wanted to embody that however we could. No one's going to live up to Kobe. But it's a constant reminder. Audrey's number 24. I'm number 42. We flipped numbers. One of us was going to wear it. And I'm glad that Audrey got to wear it. But he has played a very prominent role in our athletic and personal development.
Yep.
Talk about, because I love that answer, because I tell people all the time that outside of, and I'm a little older obviously with Michael Jordan, but that competitive spirit that I think those two guys kind of separate themselves from the pack. And but that competitive spirit, that inspiration, like that mental toughness, just listening to him, and especially with social media now, everything, all of a sudden on my phone, boom, all of a sudden I get this little 20-second, 30-second clip of Kobe. Yeah. Every time I do it, I stop and I just stop and listen, and I want to, and at my age, I still want to learn, like, wow, this guy played through everything and had a different mindset every day. I'm guessing those are the things too, part of Kobe for you, that you can draw from that at times, especially the fact that he was here and you guys were around him and you would see him and those type things.
Yeah, and like that competitive spirit, it's like this innate thing. It's like this thing that lives inside of you. It's not something that you turn on or turn off. It's something that you live out fully every single day. And like we saw that from him just as a competitor, as an athlete, as a dad, as someone who is a huge advocate of women's sports and growing that. Like in everything he did it meticulously. He did it with intention, like all the little things he just really put so much importance into and never approached, anything differently. Like he approached everything the same way with like this relentless pursuit to just be the best version of himself every single day. And so that's something that we're always trying to do in every facet of our life.
It's interesting too, just to add on, in our national championship match this last season in May of 2024, first weekend of May, my brother got to come out and be in person and watch it, which is the first time he's been able to fly out to watch our games because of finals or work. He's a busy guy. And he's a great supporter of us. And I remember it was last few points of the game, kind of a tight third set, but we had at that point really pushed it and just really were authoritative. And he was looking at me and he said, "Mamba mentality," because he was sitting right on the court next to me. He said, "Let's go, Mamba mentality, let's go." And
during the game,
it just fired me up. It just gives you that extra grit, and you can't even describe it. It's indescribable, but if you're true to it and you just let that come out, and it's that true, just pure competitor, I mean, you can't lose.
I didn't know he said that during the game.
He did. I
think I was so in the zone. I missed that.
Yeah, well, you were serving and I was at the net, and he was closer to the net. So,
quick story on him. One of the guys that coached our men's Olympic basketball team was an assistant coach on when they won it, and LeBron, Kobe, Carmelo, Kevin Durant, all those guys, and Kobe just never hung out with the rest of the guys a whole lot. And the assistant coach that I know really well asked him one day, I think we're in Spain, and said, "You really don't run around with those guys very much." And Kobe's answer to him was, and he told me the story directly, he said, "We're going to win the gold. We're winning the gold. Don't worry about that. We got this." He said, "But when I come back and we play during the season, I don't want any one of these guys in here to have any type of edge on me. Like, we're not boys. Like, we're not boys. Because come December, January, February, March in the NBA, I'm kicking every one of them's tails." That was his mindset, even when he was somewhere else. So he's inspired, so many of us. So go back now. So let's say you're in high school now, and here you guys have gotten to be pretty good, and here comes coaches recruiting. I know your mother, Bruin at heart, at UCLA Bruin, and was a cheerleader there and golfer and did all these things. And I've played pickleball with your mother too and golf, and so I know the competitive spirit she has. Yeah. But talk about the recruiting and how you guys ended up at USC.
Yeah, so our recruiting process looked a little bit different than most. Our sophomore year, we had verbally committed to Stanford. It was our dream school. I think it's any kid's dream school. And truly, I mean, every time we stepped foot on that campus, it was like this special feeling that you just can't shake.
And we would still get it when we came back and played at the
Yeah, it's like,
it's a special place.
It's an amazing place, an amazing institution.
We respect
great
the
program.
university very highly.
And so, at that time it was, okay, we're going to go through this process. We're going to keep bringing on more recruits, and this will be like your way to kind of really build something, because Stanford at the time wasn't a USC or a UCLA. And so a couple years passed, and we always, the head coach at USC prior to Dane, it was Anna Collier, and she was someone where she was just a relationship person. She always kept in touch. She's like, hey, call me if you ever need to talk, just let me know. Just know when we committed to Stanford, she said, listen, the door is always open. We didn't get that from anyone else. She was like, listen, just know the door's always open. Okay. And so we ended up kind of going back to it our senior year, summer before our senior year, right before signing day. It was last minute, but we had kind of been chatting with her for a minute there, and a couple months, and we knew we wanted to win. At the end of the day, we wanted to go somewhere where we were surrounded by, just put in a really competitive environment. We didn't want to, I'm sorry, I'm going back, so I don't want to say things that I shouldn't say. But when we were going through that process, we wanted to become the best versions of ourselves, and we wanted to be put in an environment where we would be pushed and where it would be a challenge. We want to be surrounded by people who have won before, who have done it, coaches who have coached through that. And
at the time, and I actually think Stanford's that program now. They're phenomenal.
They are. They're amazing.
Phenomenal. But at the time, it was a little bit different. Yeah. And it's like, are you going to be a big fish in a small pond, or are you going to be
that's what I was going to say.
Small fish in a big pond,
I'm sure you don't want to say it,
but get there.
Yeah, because I don't want to come off in a certain way. But at the end of the day, we were talking to our coach, Holly, and she said, okay, well, do you want to win? And that's all she said, because we had been going back and forth. I wrote this whole list.
She's very unbiased.
She was very unbiased. I wrote this whole list, pros and cons. And we talked through everything. And then at the end of it, she said, okay, we've talked through everything. Do you want to win? And we said, yeah, we want to win. And so then we ended up going to USC, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Wonderful. Completely wonderful. Hey, everyone, if you're enjoying the content on this podcast, I would encourage you to hit the like and the subscribe buttons. Your involvement in this show allows me to continue to bring you amazing, high-achieving guests. Thank you so much for your support. So now you're at SC. Let's say you're freshmen now. Let's say you're really young, and they probably had some pretty good players there, I would guess, at the time. And here comes these two hotshot twins coming from Newport Beach up to USC. Was there ever a point where you guys were like, okay, these guys are pretty good? Or how'd you feel just as your freshman year?
It's funny because we actually don't view ourselves like that in any sense of the word. I know you're
kidding.
joking. No, but it's important.
I'm only kidding.
No, I know you are, but it's important to note is we are confident in the fact that we want to be the best. But our work ethic, as intense as our work ethic is, it is paired at an equal level with humility. Yeah, we live by that. It's really important to us because there's no one, if you're in a room, there's no one that's better than you or worse. You just want to be the best you can be. You put your blinders on. You try to build people up. And when we came into USC, you're at USC. I mean, it's an iconic place. I mean, they've set the precedent for how beach volleyball is supposed to be played. I mean, Anna Collier, the prior coach, she was a major factor, her and the Pepperdine coach, that brought beach volleyball to become an NCAA sport. So there's a lot of history there, and we knew the weight of it. My dad played water polo at USC. My brother was in school at the time. My grandpa went to school there and taught at USC. So, we're a USC family. We know what it means. And when we got on campus, it didn't change anything. We wanted to get better. We were so hungry to be at the bottom and work our way up. And I've said this story a few times, and we'll bring it up. When the first one-on-one, or I guess 2-on-1, we were usually together in these meetings that we had with Coach Dane, I remember specifically telling him, look, I don't need a C on my chest to be a leader. I want to start leading now. I know I'm not going to be a captain. I know it may take a few years, and where the opportunity comes, great. If it doesn't, but we want to be leaders, and we want to set precedent. And something that, my sister and I, in the middle of our freshman year, we had kind of looking at each other, and we were thinking, gosh, we're at USC, we have 4 years here. What do we want to do? What do we want to do with this? How do we want to leave this place? I mean, we're here for a reason. And we had a long discussion about it, and we said one phrase that we've kind of always come back to is we want to leave the jersey better than we found it. We want to leave a legacy. And as freshmen, that's what we thought. That's really what we thought we were doing. And it wasn't we want to win 4 championships. It was we want to leave this program in a better place so that people that come up behind us, like folks that did before we came in, they have a better time transitioning, and they have a better time of just building that dynasty, building that legacy. I don't know if you have anything to add on.
I think we were just hungry. We were really hungry. We got there, and we've been working, from ages 10 to 18, 5 to 6 days a week of training to get to this spot. And so we were hungry. And like in those coaches meetings, I mean, our coach will have us every year that they'll have each player sort of write down what they think the lineup should be. And it's not like no one can see what anyone writes. It's just for the coaches to kind of see, okay, like where is everyone at? Where do people think they should be? And at 18, my sister and I put that we would be the ones team. You had the best program in the nation.
So naive.
Not realistic at all. And we knew that was a toss-up. I think we ended up being 3s that year. It wasn't, there's no way that was going to happen. But we wanted to manifest it. We were hungry. Yeah. We wanted it. We wanted to tell Dane, this is what we want. Whether we get there or not, we're going to work our butt off to get there. And so it's probably a bit naive, but
I think it's important to note too
is
our senior and grad year, we didn't put ourselves at 1 because that wasn't what was best for the team.
Yep.
So I think it's really important to parallel the two. There's a dichotomy to it of, yes, I want to be the best I can be. I want to be at the top of the top. I want to beat everyone, but you have to understand the team comes first. It's we over I all the time.
How about, was there ever a time, like even at SC, or was it part of would they have ever decided anybody to separate you two and say, okay, you're going to play with somebody else? Or was it always just, nope, we're a tandem and we're together and that's the way it is? Or maybe at times, hey, if I put you with this person, maybe we'll have a stronger chance?
Yeah, they always mixed us up at the beginning of the season just to give us a different look. I don't think it was ever really a thought. There was one moment where maybe my sister can speak to it a bit more, but she was coming off an injury going right into season, which at that time and she wasn't practicing. We had 2 weeks to practice together and to prove ourselves. And the great thing about USC is you always have to prove yourself.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what you've done, doesn't matter who you are, where you've played,
freshman,
how
senior.
old you are. You got to go out, you got to beat everyone. It's about winning.
Every year.
You have to be competitive, and you have to be a great teammate. And there was one year where it was kind of a question mark of whether she would even be ready to start playing.
Yeah, and it was a knee. It's tendonitis in my knee, and so it's like, if it was a shoulder, I can probably deal with that. But it's your legs, and what we call is like getting your sand legs. Like you're out of shape. You're out of shape. Your vertical goes down. You're slow. And so literally 2 weeks before season, I was just getting back into it after taking probably 5 months off and just doing PT every single day, praying that it would come together. And I remember sitting in my coach's office and I was like, listen, and I don't even know if I fully believe this, if I was healthy enough or if I could do it, but I told him, I was like, listen, you have to put me in with my sister. I will perform and I will execute for you. I could promise you that.
Love it.
I was like, you're going to have to trust me and you're going to have to believe me, but I will do this. I will do this for you and we'll do it for this team. And I said that, and it's, again, manifest it. And luckily, I was able to start and finish every single season. I've had 2 chronic injuries at USC, and both luckily got it together right before season started. But that was the one time where it was kind of a guessing game, because that year too was a rebuilding year. It was our third chance at getting a national championship, and we had lost like 12 seniors and grad students the year prior. So we weren't supposed to.
Not just 12 seniors. I mean, we lost an Olympian who took a year off to go to the Tokyo Olympics and then came back for 2 years to play with us, or 1 year. And we lost really players that are dominating the pro circuit now, that are third, fourth in the country in Olympic rankings. Wow. So it's just to give you a bit more context on the situation.
Yeah, and so, with a young team, they thought, okay, well, we have all these these seniors, these veteran players on our team, we could separate them and kind of spread the wealth. But then, you can't split up
twins.
Can't.
It's not going to happen.
I mean, it's just the chemistry is too good, and
our recruiting pitch was, hey, look, we're a package deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
that makes sense.
You just can't.
Do this for me, since you guys they're very, very few. I mentioned it right when we started. You're kind of in rare in that there are very few people that have won 4 national championships consecutively, 4 in a row, and you guys did it, which was amazing. But to do that, you have to have, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I'm actually going to ask you kind of point blank, you've got to have a mental toughness to do that. All the ups and downs, the thing you're going through, injuries, there's just so many things that happen in sports. But I want you guys to define in your words what you think mental toughness is and how it helped you.
And I'll maybe get to my definition of it, but for us, you can't really define or quantify what mental toughness is until you really understand why you're doing what you do. And candidly, for us, we play to glorify Christ. That is why we play. We're transparent about it. When people ask us and say, hey, what do you do that puts you in this position, and how do you stay grounded? That's how we stay grounded. When I'm in the national championship game, every single year, verses go through my head. Be still and know that I am God. We're sitting in a timeout this last season. We won the first set 22-20, which is really close. We lost the second set. We were down 16-5 for a technical in a national championship. That can't really happen, and we know it can't happen. And our coach was talking to us, and he was, just trying to. He's not yelling at us. It's the national championship. What is that going to do? And we were really quiet, and I just looked down at my hand, and it said A of 1, audience of 1. And Audrey grabbed me, and she said, "Listen, audience of 1. Remember why we play." And look, you got to figure out, and that it can come in different forms. For us, that's where our mental toughness comes from, because that's what consistently keeps us grounded through the ups and downs. You just have to find something that levels you, and for us, that's what levels us. And I think, mental toughness is the ability to operate in the right way, fall back on your training, no matter what's going on around you. You can't get distracted by little things that can pull your focus. It's all about focus and refocus. That's how you get into the flow state, really. When you get down to it, it's the coveted state that every athlete wants to be in, is keeping your focus on. And when you're in a flow state, it's interesting because you may feel like you're not focused at all. It's just because everything is clicking left and right, and it almost feels seamless, like you're not even trying. But it's because you're so laser focused on exactly what you want to do in the process that it just converts to outcomes.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I for me at least, and between the two of us, like throughout our careers, Nick's lefty, I'm righty. I tended to get more serves from people. That kind of tapered off towards the end of our careers when I think after all that practice of getting served, I got really good at side out, but I was targeted a lot. And when you're getting served every single time of every single game alongside your identical twin sister, it can take a toll on you mentally. It's like my freshman and sophomore year, I kind of took it hard. But like I really dove into understanding, okay, what's my self-worth? Like, why am I here? I'm here because I'm meant to be here. I'm here because I put all this work in. I deserve to be here. I'm good enough to be here. I'm good enough to be here. And so I think it's the ability to kind of self-talk yourself into that mindset to the point where like you live it every day, you embody it, you walk it, you talk it. You don't talk it, but in your head, you know, you have that, and obviously humble about it. But I honestly, I think mental toughness is the ability to just keep pushing forward no matter what's going on. If you're having a crappy game, there's so many bad starts that we've had where it's like, oh shoot, okay, this is a crappy game, I can feel it, but next play, next play. Use your, like, I think eyes. I don't know why. I think eyes whenever that's happening. And
it's your focus.
It's literally just watching the ball hit my platform, watching my feet move. Like, it's just, I think it's a level of focus and really tapping into, like my sister said, the flow state, which is hard to tap into. It's hard to stay in too, but it's like everyone plays their best when they're not thinking. It's like you could ask someone, is it the best game in your life? Like, what was going on in your head? It's like, oh, nothing. I was just playing.
It's interesting too, because when you think of mental toughness, it's what gets you through trials and tribulations. But I think the key to mental toughness is you have to love being in tribulation. Like, you have to love it. Yeah. I mean, there was a moment, and what a privilege to be in this position, but we were in a position where the score was tied 2-2 in the national championship game, and
it was our third year.
It was our third season as Trojans, and the national championship came down to our court. So if we won, our team won the national championship, and if we lost, our team lost the national championship. And I remember smiling, like, and what's interesting, and that tournament is so fascinating, and it really stands out because we had lost. UCLA beat us, I think, 6 times prior, and we only beat them once.
6?
On paper, or maybe it was 5. I think it was 5-1.
Okay.
It's 5-1, 5 times, and we only beat them once.
They were dominant.
On paper, they were supposed to win. I mean, everyone knew it.
Yeah.
Confidently. I mean, I always knew we would win. We always say it. But it was interesting because when we were going into that, USC put 2 points on the board immediately. So we were playing in the second round. So in a national championship game, you have 2 pairs playing, and then you have 3 pairs that are waiting to make it more interesting, right? If you tie it up, okay, then pairs go out. If it's 1-1, then there still has to be one more win. And it's interesting because we went 2-0 against UCLA, and we could see UCLA kind of freaking out a little bit, the girls that were getting on next, and trying to
I think we were
get their ducks in a row.
internally a little bit of the same. It's like,
I was really, it's interesting though, because I think our teammates were, but I remember I grabbed a hold of Audrey and I said, hey, this is going to come down to us. You know, you realize that, right? It's going to come down to us, and we need to expect it, and we need to win. And it did. And when you get to that moment and you're in a third set, you just thank God. Like, wow, God, you put me in the position. That's why you play. You don't play to just go and train and get 10,000 hours under the belt just to do it. You play to be in that position and have the opportunity to capitalize. I mean, what a privilege. Pressure really is a privilege. Billie Jean's said that, and we just internalize that. And you have to welcome it. You have to love it. You have to love the trials.
Yeah, and at the same time, though, like, it takes experience. Like, it's not easy. I mean, our sophomore year, which was like our true freshman year because of COVID, we did not play well in the national championship final. It's, luckily our team played really well, but I've never felt more enclosed in a box in my entire life, and it was our first time on that stage, and we couldn't do anything right. I know you were freaking out.
I was worse than you.
Yeah, it was like, I didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do, and that was a crappy feeling. But from that point on, like, it was amazing. It was amazing to go through that, because after that, it was, okay, we're operating on a growth mindset, nothing else. And so then from that point on, like, I don't think we dropped a set, or not a set, sorry, I don't think we lost a match in any of the national championships in the next 3 years. And it was because of going through that, and it's like a switch of a mindset thing.
Just peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
There's an old saying that I used a lot when I coached, but it's the real love of a hard battle. And great athletes love it. They love the battle, and some athletes shy from it. They shy away just a little bit. Or when the battle is too hard, it just, there's a tendency to fold a little bit. But it's that real love of a hard battle that kind of rises you that's where the cream rises to the top.
Yeah, and it makes me think of, not to bring it back to this, but we talk about it a lot, and it makes me think there's a Bible verse, and I may butcher it, but it's something along the lines of the horse is prepared for battle, but ultimately, the win belongs to the Lord. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how you have to view it, and you can view it in your own way, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you believe in. But it's like what you said, you have to love the battle. The outcome will come. It will. Mm-hmm. It will if you really love the battle and you weigh into that and you lead with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Let me ask you this question, because college athletics have changed. I'm sure you guys have talked about this a lot. You've experienced this a lot, and there's a lot of people talking about, NIL out there, the name, image, and likeness, and we're college athletes, and here you guys are. You're very successful. You're winners. You've won at a high level. You're both very attractive, and you're at USC, and here comes NIL. And kind of in general, I think most people agree, I think do, that athletes like yourself, if you can, cash in on the fact that you have a following and there's a market out there for whatever it is that you guys want to promote, people I think will go for that. They're good. I think where they cross the line is where now we're just going to recruit you and offer you money, and now it's just pay for play, whether you're perform in college or not. We're just paying you. Offensive lineman, the third string defensive back, we're just going to give him, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, whatever. So kind of give me your thoughts, because you guys have been through it. You're on the side of the athlete as far as you have done it. You've been in that position.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I wouldn't even be able to give you a full definition of what's going on, because it's changing so much. It's changed already in a matter of 3 years that NIL has been this thing. Now we have the rise of collectives, and that's just another way to put money in the athlete's pocket. It's not really organic. They sign the entire football team. They'll pick a couple people from beach volleyball. I think we're 2 of 4 or 5, maybe 1 or 2 from tennis. They'll take the top, for at least females that aren't women's basketball. They'll take people who have the most social media following, and they'll be what's in the House of Victory collective. And it's a lot of the events that they put on. It's great. You get to give back to the community, work with kids.
And they do work very closely with the athletic department to make. USC does a great job of trying to make it as organic as possible.
Yeah, they do. But I just think in general, collectives across the board, it's not the most organic way for athletes to bring in income. It's really not. And it's ever changing. And for us, we were really lucky because we've been building a social media platform since we were 16 years old. And luckily we were able to monetize our name, image, and likeness. And we had agents, and it's interesting. Not many NIL athletes have agents, especially in beach volleyball, or agents that will bring in deals. But luckily we had that experience, and it's just, it's growing so much. I think I think it's $1 billion industry now, and it's just going to change. I think at some point I think the ruling, it's moving forward, but student athletes are going to be employees of universities at some point soon. I think there's going to be a players union. There's going to be a salary cap. I think the football, it'll probably go to a 64 team structure and be regional.
Same with men's basketball.
Like the NFL. So amateurism as we know it is going away. It's really interesting. It's ever changing.
Yeah, it is interesting because we got 2 years without NIL and we got 2 years with NIL, which is, and for us, it didn't have much of an impact. I think, we are NIL athletes, but look, go back, athlete, but really we're student athletes. Student comes before athlete for us, to be honest. That, it's a non-negotiable. If we're performing well on the court, we need to be performing as well or better in the classroom. That's just a personal kind of approach that we have to school. So we really put other priorities before that, and thankfully we've been able to build a brand, and we've kind of had our brand before really Instagram got really big, and I think it really helped when we were 14, 15, 16. We kind of started posting videos and building our brand together, and it was really beneficial for us. And look, I think athletes should be paid for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
Period. Yes.
It makes sense. So to have that was really a privilege, and we're thankful for it, and we were very true to our brand. We only partnered with brands that we felt were reflective of our values and the way we approach things, and we really only partnered with brands that we really actively use from a day-to-day basis because we want to be authentic to our audience and whatnot. So, I think it's, in many ways, it's a great thing. But college sports, as we know, it's going to change. Yeah. Whether it's for the better or for the worse, I don't think we know yet.
My opinion on it is I think it's wonderful. Kids can, student athletes can get paid. I just hope we can put some guardrails up to where it's a little bit more organized. Let me go back to this one because this will be I'm curious as your answer. So you guys talked a little bit about when you were younger and you had committed to Stanford and it came down with USC and your relationship with the coach and, all the things for years and years that were the most important things. I recruited a lot of kids for 4 years, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. I built a relationship. So if the NIL, let's say 5 years from now, let's say this is 5 years from now and you guys are both still in high school and you're coming and you look at Stanford or SC, but then all of a sudden out of nowhere, let's say that Alabama or LSU come and they say, I tell you what, girls, we got $200,000 for you.
Nope. Not a chance. And I think it's difficult because
you're rare on that one because most students right now are saying,
here's the deal.
Who's got the most money?
We want to work. We know our worth, and we know that we can get there. We want to get there.
I love it.
We're motivated by we want that for ourselves, but we want to be we want to be in the dumps. We want to work for for what we're going to get, and we want to be surrounded by people that are there to win. I mean, this is a sport.
Yeah.
There shouldn't really be money associated. Unfortunately, there is.
There is.
But that's not what we're motivated by. We're really not. Yeah. I think it's a great. I honestly, in my eyes, and we're young and we haven't been there yet. We haven't made much money at all. But I think if the way I take it, if you work really, really hard, you try to be in every room that's going to give you ample opportunity that you can be in. You really put an emphasis on networking and just try to be the best person you can be to people around you. You'll get there.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like for you, great. But we don't. Love it. That short-term kind of satisfaction, it just doesn't. Yeah, I don't think we've ever been wired like that.
No, we have not been wired like that. We're very long-term thinkers.
Even from a scholarship perspective, I mean,
right? Which, obviously, I mean, and we don't have to get into it, but our scholarship at Stanford probably would have looked different than our scholarship at USC, but we didn't care. But that's a whole nother story. We're not motivated by money. We would be motivated by culture. However, I will say, if we are very blessed, we're very privileged, and so we have parents who have been able to support us through everything. Yeah. We've had parents who've been able to put us through USC, which is very, very expensive. And so it'd be hard to answer that question because if you were asking someone else in a different position, it might be something different. Right. And so it's hard to kind of speak to that. Yeah. We just are very grateful for having that support, and we hope that we can work really hard to do what we can do and accomplish what we want to accomplish.
And you two, the values that you have, because you didn't hesitate on that, which I loved, because then the values just come right out. And a lot of times what's happening with athletes all over the country, it is becoming a decision. Okay, if school A offers me this and school B offers me this, well, I'm just going to school B sometimes, whether it's the right situation or not. And that's the sad part for me with what's happening right now.
And I think it's difficult, just to add on to what my sister was saying, is, it's true. We did kind of grow up with, with at least support to where we could make a decision where it wasn't necessarily about money. We just want to get the best experience. There are many athletes out there that can't necessarily make that decision. So I think it just looks different from the way you grew up or your capacity to go to a certain place. There are a lot of athletes, if they're given $200,000, they should take it. It might be the best thing for them in that moment. If you can still get a great degree, if you can compete at a high level, if that's what you're looking for, that's great. And I think the good thing with it is that it just provides different opportunities to different people. So it's quick to answer, but I think there's a bit of a caveat there.
But I liked your answer because it's right away. It's kind of where your heart was, and the heart's in the right place. Would the Olympics be a part of your mindset goals in the future? Is that something for you too? But the amount of success you had in college, is there a step of Olympics or pro beach volleyball for you too?
Yeah, it's a great question.
$1 million question.
We've been thinking about that a lot the last year or two, and even now. I'll tell you, college beach volleyball is obviously a really grueling thing. It's not easy, but professional beach volleyball is a whole nother field. There's a big step up there. And even though we're 5'11", we're split blockers, so we both block, we both play defense. It's uncommon. You usually see like a 6 foot plus blocker and, right under that defender. And so we, just given our size, I think if we wanted to pursue the Olympics and just set out to do that, we would probably have to split up and each become defenders because we wouldn't be big enough to play at that level. And I don't think that's something that we're willing to do. The reason why we play our sport is because we get to play it together. Mm-hmm. And that's what fuels us every day. I mean, there's like in high school, we trained 5 or 6 days a week. I think the most we took off, honestly, was 2 weeks in 4 years. And it was, my parents weren't pushing that. It was us pushing each other. When you have like a clone version of yourself who has the same work ethic,
you don't take days
that
off.
was the product. And so, but we're excited because that's how we're going to approach the rest of our lives. And we both want to do really big things in the careers that we want to get into and that we're currently pursuing. And I think that this way too, we're going to be able to touch more people, and we can get into bigger rooms and just grow our network as much as possible, and obviously use everything we've learned from our athletic careers because it's invaluable.
Yeah, and candidly, we don't want to put a ceiling on ourselves, and I don't think we would be if we went and pursued beach for a few years. Like, I really don't think we would be, but at the same time, we do have passions outside of sport, and we haven't played beach in quite a few months. It's the first time we've taken real time off in 8 years.
Yeah. Without no injuries.
Without injuries. And it's interesting because I don't necessarily miss the sport. I just miss the grind. I miss competing.
The people.
I miss
coaches.
Showing up every day. Yeah, I miss the people. And honestly, I think we're starting to pivot to look at career stuff. I actually, I'll probably most likely be working in investment banking. She'll be working in private wealth management.
That's the goal.
So we're
trying to make it happen.
We're looking at those opportunities right now. Candidly, that's just what we're doing, and we want to be the best that we can be. We want to touch sports. We want to, if we can, change the sports landscape. Invest in women's sports. Maybe we start a fund when we're older and we come together and we join forces again, and we just create, kind of somehow give back to that community that's given us so much. And that's really where our heart lies at the moment. And the beauty of beach is it's a forgiving sport. You can kind of come back to it. Yeah. You're not tethered to any contract. There are no media rights. No one will necessarily know. Not that they won't know, but there aren't really media rights associated with it. And and the community is so understanding and so supportive, and there's so many great coaches out there and players out there that it's always a welcoming place. So, if we want to get back into it, we can, and we will. But I think we've just given so much to our sport, and we've gotten a lot out of it, that, we want to kind of experience some other things, and that's what we're focused on right now, at least in the near term.
Well, I will say this, whether it's, if you decided to pursue that, I believe you'd be Olympian. I believe you'd win a gold medal. I really do. I just believe you guys have the makeup. But I also believe in whatever it is that you pursue in life and career-wise, playing-wise, you guys have the tools and the drive and the grit and the integrity and all those things, that I think that are going to fuel you both into some great things. So maybe it's being an Olympian and maybe it's not, but you guys have great, wonderful things ahead of you. So thank you two so much for being on. This is Audrey and Nicole Nourse, four-time NCAA champions at beach volleyball at USC. So thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having us.
Lots of fun.
Pleasure.
Thank you.